Viewer discretion is advised. This video pertains to topics such as suicide and depressing thoughts that may be triggering to some audiences. When I think about the most darkest Miku songs that I've come across in my entirety, where I have been listening to Hatsune Miku since 2014, I have a wide variety of songs that come to mind over the years, and some that have recently released, and some that may have been a classic that people don't realize that may be stupid dark. And this video is not meant to be like, oh, these are my top 5 darkest Miku songs. They have deeper meanings, and I want to say that I am presenting my own thoughts and feelings towards these songs and how they make me feel, because I know it may be different for everyone else. That being said, I wanted to start off with my first one in my top 5 list. This is number 5, is Irrational by Kitazawa Kyohei, and I'm sorry if I butchered that name, but it's called Irrational, which discusses a lot about being in a sense of despair. This song, like it says, slowly dripping from my body, inhale, exhale. What a meaningless existence. And so they go on to show the personification of what I personally believe is death. And this song in particular talks so much about self-loathing, but at the same time, this song was recently released back in 2022. It's a very recent song. And if you haven't checked out this artist, I would highly recommend it because it's a very underrated artist at that. That only gets a couple thousand views, surprisingly, for what their audio production is like with their instrumentals and their way of tuning Hatsune Miku. It's such a unique way of tuning her to the point where she sounds almost real, like a real girl. The lyric really stood out to me. It says, "Don't be disappointed. I had a dirty fate. Don't be hateful. I was tired of lying. Don't look away from my cold body. Don't blame yourself. And tomorrow, forget me." And I think this could resonate with a lot of people because in times of low, we tend to think that our own mistakes are sometimes what define us. And that's the way I would like to think of it. At the same time, people take these feelings and thoughts lightly almost when they don't mean it. Obviously, some people take it too personally, which allows me to move on to my number 4 on this top 5 darkest Miku songs. This song is called Hello, How Are You? This song is very sad. It talks about a girl who is very lonely and tells a story about how she feels and explaining when she acts and why she acts. But at the same time, it's kind of interesting how this song describes the feeling of loneliness is definitely different from depression. Depression is essentially feeling like you cannot get out of a hole that you are in. Loneliness is when you feel like you're alone in that hole. There's somewhat of a different angle of looking at it. In this song, it goes on to say, "Now my favorite phrase is fine, quote unquote, who cares? Suddenly yesterday's words come to mind, quote unquote, well, I don't have any hopes for you anymore. And well, it's not like I have any hopes for myself. But just what were you trying to get across?" I think it's a conflict. You are undeserving almost of those feelings, but that thought comes from the loneliness in someone's heart. But I digress. This is the reason this song really means a lot to me, even though it is in one of the darkest songs. It has a melody that is very peaceful and very joyful. And what was this person feeling when they went through this, right? Which brings me on to my next song with that thought in mind. My top 3rd most darkest Miku song is one that is very dark in a sense of melody. And this song doesn't really talk about feelings almost. It gives a presentation of darkness incarnate. If you heard of this artist. And I forgot to mention the other artists on this list being Nano, which is the one for Hello How Are You, that song. But this artist in particular is one of a kind. My top third most darkest Miku song is Kikuo Cotton Candy. If you have ever heard of Kikuo, he has a wide variety of instrumentals with his songs. They can change at any moment in time. But this song in particular, Cotton Candy, is one that really sinks under my skin. Even though I have listened to it time and time again, it has always sunk under my skin. These lyrics may not be dark, but if you really read into it, obviously the melody is very dark and unnerving, but if you read into the lyrics, it says, "Cotton candy fills every wrinkle in my brain. It's sweet and fluffy. This cotton candy is filling every wrinkle in my brain. I'm being stuffed full of it. It's so tight, sugar is leaking out of my brain. Give me more cotton candy to be full of, please. I want us to go back to the way we were long ago. In the blink of an eye, it's all gone. This miserable cotton candy of mine. Now my head will forever be empty. I beg you, put time back to what it was long ago. Put it back, my cotton candy." Kikuo makes these lyrics very short and sweet, almost no pun intended, because I think Kikuo is personifying the craving of the golden days. This song is almost like someone going on a high on an obviously dangerous drug, but at the same time does not care about those discretions and just goes haywire on it and becomes okay again, but wants to get back onto that feeling that they once felt, or even just bringing something back from the grave that should have been long forgotten. Going into my top 2 darkest Miku songs, there is some burden that I must share that I personally should share. I have attempted suicide several times in my life. I would like to say I am a proud survivor of that. I am not trying to put these songs out there because I want views. I don't want that. Because I know for certainty in my whole heart, mind, and soul that these songs mean so much to me. So with my second most darkest Miku song that I personally am attached to, and even if it has a different version, this cover really speaks out to me. That would be Hatsune Miku Self-Inflicted Achromatic by Nekobolo. Just straight away, people would know the song. I wouldn't recommend looking it up because this song is a song that is obviously about wanting to die. And that's why I said that this song speaks out to me so much. Because, I listened to this song a lot back then. And I think that a lot of people, even the own producer of this song, felt some way about this song. In a way, there's no other way to translate this song any other way. It goes on to say, "If by wiping me away, hundreds of millions of people rejoiced, and no one held hatred for anything, then I couldn't be happier. Tomorrow I'll still tread between reality and dreams. Just like that, I'd love to disappear." And in this song, it does repeat a lot. Personally, I've heard this song only a couple number of times. I try not to listen to it too much because it would obviously be bringing me back to the moments that I felt very terrible. When it comes to you not wanting to be around anymore, this is a moment of growth. People who go through this certain feeling know that you are not alone in this fight. It is a fight that everyone faces. It is not abnormal to feel this way. It's in the deepest, darkest, hardest fight that we really figure out who we really are. That is the most beautiful thing that life can give us. But with that being said, I wanted to go on to my top number 1 most darkest Miku song. And if you know my last list that I showed off for my top 5 Miku songs, it's definitely not Rolling Girl. Surprisingly, it is not Rolling Girl. And obviously people would say, what? Rolling Girl? It's a sad song. Yes, it is. That's my top number 1 Miku song of all time. There's nothing above that for me. For darkest songs, I would have to say Boku no Seino by Wowaka, featuring Hatsune Miku, is a song that I hope I didn't butcher. Wowaka, by being one of the biggest legends in the entire Vocaloid realm, he is a master of lyrics, and this song is translated to My Talent. When I talk about this song, it was uploaded in 2009. Miku had just turned not even 2 years old, maybe, and he had created the song especially with his most famous album, which was Unhappy Refrain. If you haven't heard it, I highly recommend it. It is one of my favorite songs on Unhappy Refrain besides Rolling Girl. It's probably my second most favorite out of the album, if I'm being honest. It just speaks out to me so well. If I could really relay these lyrics, Wowaka goes on to say that I can't see it anymore. This one-player game of despair. I'll just wait for that light that wavered in the distance, closing in 0 seconds. Who will come next? You start crying, and I am with you. I want to be intoxicated just once more. The teardrops that helplessly well up just don't spill over. I think of those normal days, and I feel like something is lost. I simply chase after you, so why am I sad? The ordinary people look so pretty. That's just me trying to replace myself. If it closes too much, it'll be useless from the next one on. How did you start crying? How about I rest by your side? It's talking about the person who is helping, but also the person who is suffering. To me, that's what it means. If someone's crying for another because of something they are going through, obviously that means they care. But at the same time, the person who is crying and is suffering doesn't know that that person cares because they are suffering. They're blind to it almost. They feel that sense of comfort at least. This song is talking about just wanting to let it go with just that damned wish, not for anything's sake, simply I chase after you, so why am I sad? The person who helps feels like that other person who is suffering. I know that Wowaka knew these lyrics were gonna be relatable and almost shining a light into the darkness, because despite how all these songs are very dark, they show a sense of transparency in this crooked, cruel world that we live in. And personally, I wanted to make this list because it shows how cruel and dark this world can be, but also at the same time, the impact we can leave on others to get through this life. Because everyone deserves to live their life. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If it did bring you to tears, I am sorry, because I know that it's made me cry multiple times too. I have been Oblo. Feel free to like, subscribe, comment down below your guys' thoughts and opinions. And with that being said, I will see you guys in the next one. Take care and peace.